Hello, everybody, and welcome to the second round of the Global Champions Grand Prix. We are here today to watch two of the best international teams in the world, Beer versus 748W, and I am joined today by my buddy, Dirty Dan Gaming. Dan, how's it going?
Brian, long time no see. Seems like it was just a few hours ago. We were checking out some Supreme Strife, and now we're right back here for some global Grand Prix actions. Good to be back with you.
Yeah, it's been quite the weekend of Rise of Kingdoms. Dan, of course, moved to Australia recently, so he started his day very, very early casting the Supreme Strife finals, and now it is late at night for him to cast this Global Champions Grand Prix match. It's just a normal 7 a.m. in the morning here for me. But listen, we have got to get, whether it's the morning or late at night, we have got to get pumped up for this match, Dan. I mean, we have got Beer against
Absolutely.
748W. Um, these are two teams that have played very well over the past year or so. 748W, they are the former champions of Sobek, and they finished in the semifinals of the Osiris League last season. Beer made it to the finals last year of the regular Osiris League, and both of these teams qualified for this event through pool play. And Dan, when we look back on this thing, I think Beer and 748W were probably the two best teams in that pool qualifier. So I'm glad they made it through. I know that on the team that you were on, 93X, you played against one of these teams. What can you tell us about
Yep.
this matchup?
Yeah, I was able to practice against Beer when I was on the 93X team, and we actually lost in the qualifying rounds to 748W. Both teams are going to play really similar. Even looking at some of the stats and the notes that are provided to us, these teams are very similar. They play the structure game very well. Um, they're very micro oriented. Like they're just really good at clicking on the field and kind of wiping you out. They have really good pacing when it comes to the structure game. Um, so it's going to be a very interesting match here to see if anyone's going to try and do something a little bit different. We did see last week with 748W kind of, I want to say maybe upsetting 489. At least it was in terms of the bets. But 748W played a very sound match when it came to the structure game and was able to steal an arc, which proved to be decisive in that victory against 489. So we're gonna have to see if they're going to be able to implement a little bit of that today against Beer, because they're definitely going to need to do so, because Beer is definitely no slouch, and one of those teams that's really starting to make a name for themselves.
Yeah, this is going to be an amazing match, honestly. I'm really excited to cast this. If I could have cast any match today, this is the one I would have chosen. For me, what we are going to see today is we are going to see modern Ark of Osiris at its finest. I really think that these are two teams that there's just nothing old-fashioned about the way they play. Like as you mentioned, their micromanagement is very good and they're very well practiced. And one of the things that happens when you practice something a lot is that you just learn new things and you iterate so often that you become a, a new looking team. And
Yep.
one of the things we saw last week from 748W are some very interesting rally combinations. I saw them using
Yes.
a Subutai primary with a Scipio
Mhm.
Aemilianus secondary. So a cavalry rally with a Scipio Aemilianus as the secondary. They also used a Qin Shi Huang rally with a Shapur secondary. So a non-standard archer rally, but bringing in QSH, that new ultra powerful archer commander, to be a rally lead. So 748W is very compelling in that regard, while Beer is very compelling in just being a dominant mid team. And Dan, how do you think the different approaches of these teams are going to play out in this match?
I mean, look, sometimes different is better. I mean, when we I got a chance to both practice against 748W and then go head to head with them in our qualifying rounds. And I mean, even when we practiced against them and we saw the Super Tight Scipio rallies, we kind of laughed at it, and we kind of came to bite us in the end, and us getting knocked out. So sometimes different is good, and I think it really kind of keeps teams on their toes, because I mean, if you're seeing a funky rally like that, you don't know what else they have planned up their sleeves. Especially as we've seen in last Osiris League Season 9. Obelisk plays have really started to become a thing. Again, they've kind of reemerged as a new strategy, or an old new strategy, I should say. So like I wouldn't put anything past the two teams in terms of like what they're going to bring to the table today, because we probably will see some different things, but at the end of the day, that's probably what's going to prove to be decisive.
Yeah, one of the things here with 748W is they have Viet Minh as their leader. He's been the leader of 748W for a long time, and he has always been one of the more creative arc leads out there. I think that he really values being unpredictable. And, one thing that happened in the match last week with 489 is that what Viet Minh did is he cast No Mark before the first arc, but then he sent everyone to the arc anyway. And I think he really surprised 489 with that play, because what 489 did was they said, listen, they used a bunch of skills before this mid. We probably will have an easy time of it. And they split up. 49 split up. They tried to win the sides with about 25% of the team and only sent about 75% to mid. But 748W sent everyone mid. They cast no skills in the mid fight. 49 used 8 points of skills, but 748W won that mid fight anyway. And, it's just the unpredictability of this team that is so impressive.
Yeah, and I saw some of that too, and don't be surprised if you see some interesting opening things too. They made a blitz for us. I can't remember which match it was exactly, but they made a blitz on our opening obelisk, which kind of forced us to pull some of our Desert Altar defense team away from it, and then eventually ended up losing the first occupation because of a play like that. And I mean, the thing with 748W too, that like I had the chance to actually interview one of their players last season. I guess I'm a little bit more familiar with them than I might give myself credit for, but these guys also play without voice. Like they're just markers in terms of how they're going about playing these matches. And then another key thing on how they recruit for Grand Prix is they get top tier Champions of Olympia players, which is like definitely a little bit of a different approach. So combine the fact where you have really good micro players when it comes to Champions of Olympia, and the fact that they don't really play in a standard voice setting and they rely more on markers, is really leaves the door open in this match.
Yep. And we are now ready to get into this match, so let's jump right. So here we go. You see that both teams are getting ready for these gates to open. Beer here in blue, 748W in red. They were on time. We were maybe a little bit late. And we are just waiting to see when these gates get going here. Dan, we talked about the unpredictability of 748W, and I got to tell you, man, I just wonder if they have something up their sleeve for the beginning of this match.
I wouldn't be surprised.
I mean, you played in this. Do the opening plays differ at all in the Grand Prix compared to the regular Osiris League? And here we go, gates opening up.
I would say slightly. There's definitely a few different looks that I feel like that you can give a team, and especially what happened last Osiris League with 60GT and some of the plays on Obelisk. Like I think we even tried an Obelisk play on 748W because we just knew that we weren't the superior team to them. They obviously had a lot more experience, so there are a few different looks that you can give, but I think for the most part, it's going to be standard. One thing that 748W likes to do is kind of, probably keep an eye on that top lane as they go for their enemy desert altar. What we've seen a couple times is they like to snake up a player right along the wall and start to harass players as they're getting ready and set for their initial murder balls. And then again, they did make a play on the obelisk to to pull some of our home desert altar defense away from that, which again kind of resulted in us losing first occupation on the desert altar. So few like small things that teams can do here, but I think for the most part, even though this is Grand Prix, you are going to see a little bit more standard openings.
Yes, so far we don't see anything too crazy. We just see the very fast T1 cavalry players racing down the field. On the 748 side, the red side, we saw their fast cavalry player Bay grab the obelisk and then turn around, going back to his home area. On the other hand, we do see from Beer that Ruben here is racing down the field towards the red side of the map, hoping to find some sort of opening. But, you know, with the Grand Prix format where everyone has all of the commanders and really good inscriptions and plenty of troops, we do see other players being able to bring their T5 Belisarius Prime here fast enough to defend this obelisk. It's always nice, Dan, right? When everyone has all the commanders, even the speedsters like Belly Prime, so you can just assign multiple people to the speed roll at the start of the match.
Yeah, it is really nice, but at the same time, it's like you would think it's easy, right? Like you're getting this, all the cool toys to unpack. But I will tell you firsthand that we did a lot of theory crafting, probably way more than we needed to, maybe at times even overthinking it. So, there is a lot of fun that you can have with it, but I think you have to make sure not to overcomplicate things. And you can see on that top side here, Brian, you can see one player here that might be Viet Minh himself. He is going to try and go right against the wall for 748W. He's going to try and sneak up here and disrupt the initial murder ball of the home desert altar defense, right to the left.
Yeah, no, good call.
Right there. Yeah. Yeah, that's Viet Minh right there. Yes, that is his like kind of opening role here. He's gonna go onto that back line and try to pepper down some of those uh starting desert altar defense here.
Yeah, Viet Minh's always been such an interesting player to watch because he is the person casting skills and probably calling a lot of the shots, but he's also a wild man in terms of how he uses his actual marches. You know, he's really doing a lot in these matches. He's thinking up strategies, but also being at the front line and the vanguard of these strategies. Doesn't look like he got a whole lot of value here, but he did kind of like scout things out and get a feel for where Beer is allocating early on. And interesting movement from 748W on the bottom side as well. Now, I will add, 748W appears to be a team that is over 50% Korean, and then they have a lot of Vietnamese and international players. I think this bottom side is more of the Vietnamese side of the map. And this is, I think this will be the side that Viet Minh actually teleports to. But interesting movement here from 748W, also sort of looping to the left and then coming up in front of their own desert altar. We've got 40 seconds to go before these buildings spawn, and we take just one final look out here at the way the map looks. Everyone has secured their obelisks, but look at this down here at the Shrine of Life. Very little presence from 748W at their own Shrine of Life, and now fighting kicking off in all the lanes. And Dan, do you see any advantage for either team here as we open things up?
No, it looks like a pretty standard opening. I do like the positioning on that bottom desert altar of 748W to kind of push up a little bit more. Beer is that this is the side that I used to play on, and I remember playing against Beer and the constant pressure, and you can already kind of see them starting to wipe out 748W here and starting to make a move down onto the desert altar as they do get into the structure first. So some good positioning there, but then again, there's so much micro that comes into Grand Prix. Like that was such an eye-opening thing for us, was like we as a team like needed to get better at microing and just learning how to like target select better, and it really shows who is skilled you know, at the game of Rise of Kingdoms when it comes to Grand Prix, because everything's on a level playing field, and when you can wipe a murder ball like we just saw here, Beer do to 748W, kind of leans to them being a little bit more superior in the micro level.
Yeah, really good opening for Beer. We'll see what it leads to here at the Desert Altar, because 748W, obviously, they all died pretty early on. One thing I want to point out here with Beer is the way their marches are positioned. You've got a few marches here on the left, you've got a few marches up top, and what they're trying to do is they are trying to have their players use a lot of AoE, like have their AoE hitting a lot of marches at the same time, and they don't want everyone's AoE to hit the same marches. So, really good micro from Beer right off the bat, and that has got to be intimidating for 748W to get so hard wiped at this Desert Altar early on. Now listen, the key here is the first occupation, and Beer has to hold this building for another 90 seconds before they lock in first occupation. And we do see that 748W has cleared the Beer ball. They've got a full rally now hitting this Desert Altar. And so they are in a very good position to take this building back. You can see actually that 748W is so confident that they're actually going to rotate several of their players. Well, they were confident, so they rotated everybody, but then Christie here turned back. Christie's not sure where to go. But, you know, listen, a strong fighting opening for Beer, but then a strong logistical opening for 748W. And then here on the top of the map, side of the map, Dan, look at this. 748W grabbing both of Beer's buildings here at the start. Wow.
And I think we missed it, but 748W popping no mark. So kind of replicating what they did a little bit in a way from last week, popping that no mark. They felt comfortable on this top side, getting the Desert Altar, using them. So that no mark really helped here on this initial defense on the on the Beer Desert Altar, and then helping them get back their own Desert Altar on that bottom side. So really nice play here from Viet Minh to pop that no mark.
Yeah, super good use of no mark here, because, you know, we saw it at the bottom side Desert Altar. They needed a 90 seconds they needed to hold it for 90 seconds. Beer did. But 748W, because they cast no mark, at the same time that was happening, they only needed to hold this building for 30 seconds. And once they held it for that remaining 30 seconds, they locked in 750 points. And that's a 1,500 point swing right there, because it's denying Beer from ever getting those points in the match. And, you know, you can see it on the scoreboard that 748W has opened up a giant lead in this match, almost a 5,000 point lead at this point. And they continue to hold the enemy Desert Altar, and it is ticking points for 748W with just 3.5 minutes to go before the first arc. Let's take a quick look at the arc situation. And just to remind you of how 748W played this last week, they cast no mark, and then they still went very heavy mid. So that's just something to keep in mind for this week. I will say that I think they're a little bit more successful on the sides this week than they were against 489. Dan, would you, when you have this big of a lead with 748W and knowing that you already cast no mark, would you go with another all-in, you know, play for the mid? Like, in terms of all your marches, would you just send them all mid again this week?
That's a tough call. I think there's also potential here where you can maybe look to do a fake out. I mean, you know, going into this mid that you're going to be at a very large disadvantage in terms of the skills that are going to be able to be used. I mean, yeah, I mean, Beer's going to have about a full skill bar. So, just kind of keying back to those notes, Beer opting for Dust Up, Desert Storm, to the death rather frequently. I believe no mark is also on their board as well, but this is going to look to be a really challenging mid fight here for 748W, being down on the skill points. So, and then they also have to be careful too not to overcommit, because that does look like, as we're kind of peeking here, that might be a little bit of a sneaky tactics murder ball that might be forming to make a blitz on the obelisk.
Yeah, pretty interesting formation here by Beer up against this cliff's edge. they've had some of their players here, like Retronics, has been sitting here for quite a while. Like they've been waiting here for over 30 seconds at this point. Maybe still deciding what to do, because now we see these players sort of pushing forward. They might have decided to scrap whatever sneaky stuff they had planned there. And if we do look at the map, we do see that 748W has mostly all into this Ark. There's a few players here on the top side attacking the Shrine of Life, but everyone else has gone mid. And pretty
really
similar
like that
for
play,
Beer.
by the way.
What's that?
I really like that play, by the way, going heavy on the Shrine of Life. In a mode like Grand Prix where everything is even, the Shrine of Life is huge, and we saw that last season with GY16 liking that, because you're going to take away troop health and you're going to take away the march speed, which is so important for these mid fights.
Yeah, definitely the Shrine of Life is a very useful skill here. You know, both teams basically all inning, just maybe one or two players going to the Shrine of Life on the top side. And look at this. Beer trying to get a scout of 748W, trying to get the numbers. Cactus here, he's going to get the numbers, and he's going to see that 748W has huge numbers, and they have the temple. Now, the difference here from last week is that Beer has brought everybody. They've brought the house for this mid, and they do have a skill advantage. So, Beer learning from the mistakes that 49 made last week in terms of allocation, will they also fix 49's mistake and actually win this second mid fight? Everybody going at it now, head to head. No skills being cast by either team. Interesting. Beer very confident. And here comes the skills from Beer. A very late dust up. Incredibly late dust up here by Beer, as the Ark has spawned, and it does look like 748W has two people grabbing it. No one grabbing it for Beer. Now, three people grabbing it for 748W. And there it is. Aaron grabbing the Ark and making a run for it. Wow. Unbelievable. Unbelievable here. 748W beating Beer, the vaunted mid team. Or are they, Dan? Or are they? Who is winning this mid fight?
It's starting to look pretty blue. That's a great pull from 748W, but I think Beer is going to be able to clear this out here. They do have to chase that down. I think that might be T1 CC, because that dude is flying right now. So he should get melted rather quickly. And then Beer's going to have to just have a little bit of a longer escort here, but also a good rotation that's going to come onto the Desert Altar 748W. So they are going to have to kind of get things together here. But Beer definitely needs this Ark right now. They are down about 7,000 points. This Ark is very, very important for Beer.
Yeah, Beer winning the fight. Very interesting that Beer won the fight with only... Well, they used Desert Storm early, and then they used Dust Up. So they did have a skill advantage mid. They really did wipe 748W nicely. And look at this. They have taken the Ark now. Vladzar grabbing the Ark. And it was touch and go there for a moment for the blue team. But Beer, the noted mid team, needing this first mid, it does look like by the skin of their teeth, they are going to secure this first mid. Wow, that was close. That was very close right there.
That was close. And now we have a match, right? Now we have a match. Beer's most likely going to look to hold on to this thing. They're going to try and stabilize their buildings, catch up on points a little bit. And then going into that second arc, we're going to kind of get a feel of who's going to kind of come out on this. This is where a lot of tempo is you want to kind of establish that. You want to establish your tempo. You want to get your feet under you, and start to get some rhythm going into that second arc. And it might be a second and final arc, depending on how long Beer wants to hold this thing.
It's possible. It is certainly possible that Beer will hold this thing for a long time. They are trailing by about 7,000 points now. If we give them the arc return, which is worth 3,000, then they'll only be down 4K points, but that's still quite a deficit for them to overcome. And I do think that in the past, 748W has been a stronger mid team than Beer. Beer had trouble in the mid in the qualifiers against some teams. Like, not that they lost the sides hard, but they lost the sides a little bit at times to teams like 75 DC. And 748W, at this point last week, Dan, after the first mid-fight, with no skills on from either team, 748W was able to take buildings from 489, which is known as a very, very strong side team. So 748W's side game is no joke. And we see that here at the Desert Altar, where they have cleared the Beer field for the most part. Beer trying to swarm down this Attila Subutai rally, but you've got a big swarm on this Eleanor. You've got 748W pushing past the building to kill all the reinforcements coming. Very interesting how many players have decided to, instead of swarming, we're going to kill the Reigns coming to this building. And as much as this rally is very low, down to 300,000 troops, the garrison is also very low here. The Eleanor trying to hold on, trying to get some more players in. Look at this. Look at the double C just speeding in to this garrison. Dan, any predictions on which team wins this fight right here?
So we did have the no mark pop from Beer as well. I think Beer is going to hold on to this thing here. Both these teams were very, very good at reinforcing.
Beautiful caster curse, by the way. Beautiful caster curse you just had. 10 out of 10.
All right, well, it's still a good no mark play in holding some structure. They did get a flip. They took the Sky Altar from 748W, and I think even on the bottom side there's a little bit more blue too. So they are still getting some value out of that no mark. We didn't full caster curse it. But yeah, both of these teams are very good in the reinforcing game. So yeah, you can see Beer now here starting to kind of stabilize, and it's good. And especially with the no mark up, this is where they're going to look to make up some points here.
Yeah, if we check the scoreboard, we do see that Beer has a massive 500 point per minute lead with the no mark that they have casted, and their ability to grab this 748W Desert Altar is big for sure. Now, both teams have the other team's Desert Altar. We'll see which team gets their building back first. A very confident attack here by 748W. The full rally here, actually trying to find space to attack this Desert Altar. There it goes. It has locked in and targeted this Heraclius YSS garrison. So does look like 748W is well on their way to taking their own building back. And the question is, what is the status for Beer here on the top side? You see the Beer is maybe a little bit slower to take their own building back. Now they've got the assertive attack. Now they've got their own Attila rally attacking this 748W garrison. But yeah, you know, 748W, they were a little bit faster to flip their building back. And, you know, Dan, in these really close matches, you talked about the micromanagement of these teams. One of the things we've learned is that the small details and the small victories along the way are they can certainly matter quite a bit in the final result.
Oh yeah, 100%. And this is like, you know, exactly. I'm getting flashbacks of fighting 748W. Like, there's so much constant pressure that's coming at you. It's just wave after wave. Like, their timings and their shot calls are so good. Their rotations are so good. You could see another murder ball forming up there, getting ready for another assault in the Desert Altar. Like, they're just nonstop, and it honestly gets so exhausting at a point in the match where, like, it kind of breaks you down a little bit, like more morally. Like, the morale like really kind of starts to chip away at you because it's so constant. And I think that's why we were able to see 748W kind of come right back and take that away from them. And Beer's gonna have to withstand another storm here and go on the defense and try and hold on to this building again.
Yeah, interesting fight here outside of the Beer Desert Altar. We did see Beer charge into the red team ball here. A lot of their players were at half health. All of the red players were at full health as they had just refreshed. And we do see Beer getting wiped here. I thought they might have a little bit more success. I was curious to see whether Beer could just get a decent amount of value in this fight. But yeah, like you said, the pressure from 748W is oppressive and non-stop. And, you know, they did just wipe that Beer ball, and they are going to pressure this Desert Altar. Now, maybe Beer will get back in time. You know, Beer did something smart by taking the fight, you know, far away from their building, and so potentially they can get back in time. But regardless of that fact, I mean, 748W has still a full ball here, and they have surrounded the enemy building. So this is just like another very good attack by Beer, or by 740W. And we do need to say that Beer has returned to the Ark.
Yes. Yep. Yeah. So we have 7 minutes until next Ark is going to spawn. As we can see that rally coming into frame now, and this is what the good teams are going to do. They're going to position up in front of the altars where they're attacking, try and get those reinforcements down. And you can see Beer kind of training in, and 748W probably going to start to make the call to start, you know, rage hopping onto some of those fresh troops coming in. And this looks like a pretty promising attack here for 748W. I'm not going to make any predictions. I don't want to cast or curse it twice in a row, but we'll see how this attack plays out here.
Yeah, we'll have to see here, honestly. I think we're seeing some very good things from Beer here as well. What I really like here, it looks to me like we had a couple of very fast cavalry reinforcements coming in all the way from the start zone. There are still plenty of players from both teams in the start zone as we are only 25 minutes into this match. And that's just like incredibly good value for those start zone players to get a reinforcement in at the exact second that they're needed. You know, like that's just such good play there by Beer to get back to this fight. You know, it definitely feels like 748W is getting very good trades in this fight that we're watching, but this is an objective game. This really is an objective game. No one's going to run out of troops here in the Grand Prix. And if Beer can hold this building through this attack, which it's still very close, then I would rate that as a win for Beer, you know? And even just tempo-wise, this is going to be good for Beer because at this point, 748W's attack is almost wiped, and it'll take them a while to refresh, right? So pretty good defensive play by Beer at this building.
Or so this is where too though, like 748W is so good because like you think that it's going to take a while for them to come back, but they'll be right back in your face before you know it. Like I'll be curious here. As soon as this rally goes down, I would say there might be about a minute until we start to see another mini murder ball start to come into frame. That's just again kind of a testament to their constant pressure, and there might be a little bit even some from the outside coming to rotate in. But yeah, it's a battle of two like really good microing teams here. And we have 5 minutes until the next arc. I mean, this thing is it's just going to be a nail biter to the end. And I will mention too that some of the notes that were provided for us, these were two of the worst provisioning teams last week. So I don't think we're going to see too much provisions come into play. Maybe within those last like 10 minutes where people are scrambling for points, but I don't think we're going to see a large chunk of provisions coming in this match here.
Yeah, great point. These are two of the teams that really don't devote many marches to provisioning. And listen, if you try to gather against these teams, you do it at your own risk because like you said, the pressure is very strong here. We do see on the bottom side that maybe it's Beer that's a little bit stronger on the bottom side. They do have a good attack here on the 748 Desert Altar. Actually looks like they are going to flip the 748W Desert Altar here on the bot side. There it goes. Big win for Beer here in between arcs. So these teams are so strong that they just feel like we're going to use all of our marches to fight. We just don't feel like allocating anything to gathering. And listen, it's interesting to see them fighting each other with this strategy. What will be really interesting is to see them fight against teams who do gather and whether those teams can deal with the side play onslaught of these two teams. So we've got, it's become a close game. After the no march from Beer, they are actually only down about 1,700 points. We've got 3.5 minutes before the next arc. Dan, as you look at this map, do you feel like one team is better set up for this second mid fight?
Going into the second mid fight, I would say right now 748W just might be in a little bit of a better position. We can see because of that successful Desert Altar take. Actually, no, I would say Beer. It's going to go both ways, right? Beer is losing some resources for this mid fight due to the successful take on the Desert Altar, but 748W have to take their own resources to go get their own Desert Altar back. So a little bit of an even playing field here. 748W definitely wants to get that thing down as fast as possible, as we can see the rally coming out now. But definitely some of those players are going to be a little bit late. And I wouldn't be surprised here. Maybe we get maybe like a fake out mid, and 748W looks to go for a no mark here while they still have some favorable numbers in these lanes here.
Yeah, you know, we can see that this is, in some ways, this is a game of inches. We saw everyone with the markswoman on their wall so that it took longer for Beer to kill off their marches against cities. But sometimes inches become yards. And with the fact that Beer took this building and 748W has to devote an entire rally to taking this building back, and they really do need this rally. You see now that they needed to use this rally. That's 5 marches right there that can't go mid. We also see some 748W marches that are not full health. We saw that a bit earlier here with some of the players who were at the Desert Altar. So, you know, I think you're right, Dan, that this does set up for Beer a little bit better. They are cutting it close. Their last marches that died, we see them now, some of the Retronics marches that died against the 748W cities. They're getting to mid-late, right? The mid spawns in 90 seconds, and it's going to take this QSH a minute to get there. Beer's cutting it close, but it looks as though Beer is going to have everybody mid.
Whoa. What is that skill? We haven't seen that in forever. War drums.
Interesting.
What the heck?
War drums from 748W. And then Desert Storm being dropped by Beer. So War Drums is a very good skill. The only downside is that it only buffs 30 marches. So Viet Minh feeling like there aren't too much more than 30 marches here for their mid. And he might be right, because look at how late 748W is to get to this. Look at this. And they're scouting it. Beer's scouting this out. They are seeing that there are a lot of players still walking to mid. And Beer is getting a little bit antsy to go into this ball. Dan, I do think that Beer has the better numbers here. I do think they have better numbers.
I do think so as well. I think they might be a little bit hesitant to, like you're saying, that they're a little anxious. I mean, you see this war drums, and it's a little, and this is some of the different things that we were talking about in the pregame, that just kind of throw you for a loop, and kind of like, even something like that is kind of stalling the decision making here a little bit from Beer as we're getting the engage now going. But we got to see if this war drum is going to pay off here. I'm so curious. I'm scratching my head here still after that play.
Yeah, and look at both teams really holding their skills here. Neither team using more than just a few points for this mid fight. Ark has spawned. Beer looking very strong. A lot of blue here. A lot of blue here at the temple for sure. This looks like a dominant Beer victory. And, you know, 748W, they did have more points stocked up here because Beer had cast the no mark. But Viet Minh choosing to just go with the war drums as his only skill mid, perhaps assessing that they just had no chance at this mid. Beer had the superior numbers, and they had a dominant mid win here. 30 minutes left in this match. Beer will have the lead. Beer has the actual lead in this match because they hold the Ark. And now the pressure shifts to 748W. What are they going to do at this point in the match? Are they going to try and ambush this Ark? Are they going to try and just win the sides? I mean, so many things can happen here. Now, Dan, I do want to point out that 748W did not use a lot of skills for mid. And they have put Master Strategy on their bar in the past. So we just have to be aware of that. And I'm sure Beer is as well, because you can see that Beer has one of the biggest escorts.
Heavy escort.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
absolutely massive escort of this Ark, because they are not just worried about the ambush on the ground, they are also worried about the ambush through the air. Right now, it doesn't feel like there's a master strategy play. It really doesn't seem that way. It looks like 748W wants to use their numbers advantage on the side. Well, there's Time Warp. There's Time Warp from Viet Minh. So we're probably going to see another no mark here in a moment, as 748W does feel like they have an edge on the sides. No play being made for the Ark. Cactus here with a very low health March. So slightly vulnerable in that sense. But look at this. The escort is broken off. Beer making the read as well that we're not going to see a master strategy. And they are headed towards this building. And the one point to make about this, and why Beer broke off when they did, is once Viet Minh casts that Time Warp, Beer can be very confident that they're not going to master strategy. Because when you use Time Warp, you get your next skill for free. There's no reason to cast Time Warp if you are then going to cast Master Strategy, because you haven't cast Master Strategy yet. There's no reason to reset your bar at that point. And there is the no mark from 748W trying to get some value by flipping the Sky Altar. But look at the response from Beer. Look at the very intelligent response from Beer, using these marches that were mid to now come over here and defend their own Sky Altar. Some of these players might even be able to jump in here in time, although the pressure from 748W is quite intense.
Yeah, it was a quick turnaround for 748W getting the wipe, getting wiped in the middle. Yeah, I think this is the right play for 748W, especially considering that they are going to be down those 3,500 points that they just lost from this last mid-arc fight. And this is going to be the way that they kind of get back into it. I'm still over here scratching my head on that last mid arc that we had. I mean, both teams only opting for one skill each. War Drums for 748W and then Desert Storm for Beer, which means that Beer now has some skill points in the bag to kind of answer this no mark here. So 748W losing a little bit of tempo here, and Beer is kind of starting to get into the driver's seat here, with the advantage on skill points that they're going to have now.
Yeah, you know, 740W cast no mark first in this second half of the match, and so at the moment it looks like they have a bit of an advantage from a points perspective. They do have a couple of Beer buildings right now. They actually took the Shrine of Life as well, and they might even be able to hold this Shrine of Life for a while. So 740W is getting good value from their no mark, but Beer still has another no mark in their bag, more than likely. Yeah. We didn't see them. Actually, they have had Time Warp on their bar in the past, so they likely have Time Warp, and they likely will cast no mark themselves when the conditions are right. They certainly have the points for it, Dan, because like you said, hardly anybody cast any skills mid there. I think it's not. I don't think it was a terrible play by 748W, honestly. I just think that Beer had the numbers advantage mid, plus Beer is such a good team mid that, you know, why waste the skill points? Why waste the skill points if they're not going to lead to a winning arc? And
I think 748W has to be a little bit careful here. Like they have to be careful in the sense where like they need to start making some moves, because I was just gonna say, Beer knows they're up in skill points now. They're gonna cash the arc. They're going to have the advantage going into the next mid-arc fight yet again. And this is probably going to be one where this is a mid-arc fight where Time Warp is now off the board for 748W. So they've already kind of revealed their hand that no mark is in play. They can't go for a fake out on this third arc. They honestly need to go in and win this thing. And Beer is totally in the driver's seat right now.
Yeah, you know, Beer did the very fast return of this second arc. And they partly did that because they knew that 748W just used 6 points of skills. So the 748 skill bar is, you know, they have less points right now than Beer. But because so few skills got cast for that second mid, I do think 748W will have plenty of skill points for the third mid. Probably they will have enough to cast to the death plus something, right? Whether it's Dust Up, whether it's Desert Storm, whatever that last skill on their bar is, they're going to have a pretty decent mid for this third mid, and they need it, honestly, because it feels like this is one of those matches where 748W needs to win at least one mid in order to
Yeah.
win this match.
Well, and that's what happened. That's exactly what happened last week, right? They kind of played their game and they were able to steal one arc. That's like the mantra for any team that is structure focused. The mantra is, let's win our structures. We're going to get flips on the buildings and we need to win one arc. We just need to win one. That's it. And that's usually the win condition for any team that's going to play a little bit more building focus. So they are still, there is that window still open for them, but they are definitely going to have to make those skill points count as they go into this third and potentially final arc here.
You know, last week, what ultimately decided the match between 49 and 748W was that third mid. Both teams went all in on the third mid, and it was 748W who came out with just a very impressive mid win there. 748W is very strong mid. We saw them on the first arc almost steal it, so they have a chance here. But, you know, listen, Beer has a very good advantage in ratio. The severely wounded ratio is really nicely in Beer's favor, better than 15%. They have a 15% plus advantage on 748W just in terms of their precision or pixel perfect clicking of enemy targets, knowing where to stand, knowing where to send your AoE, knowing which enemy to target. Beer has really shown that they are superior in that way, and you know, that can get into the head of an opponent. And 748W, as they try to flip this Desert Altar, as they try to hold their own buildings and get themselves set up for the mid, in the back of their mind, they just have to be thinking of, like, how do we win this third mid? You know, like, Beer is so strong mid. How do we manage to win this mid? And, you know, Dan, I don't know. What do you think? We've got a shot caller in Viet Minh who is very creative, likes to be unpredictable. Do you go straight forward on this third mid, or do you try to pull off something tricky here?
I think with the skills available to them, or skills and skill points, I think you might have to take a little bit of a different approach here. I think they're gonna have to maybe wean that thing down as much as they can. They didn't get a lot of value out of the last no mark that they just casted. So I would say, like, they might need to maybe look like they're staying structure focused to just a little bit longer. It's going to be really close, like like a little bit too close for comfort. And then they're going to have to go in for this mid engage, but regardless, they are going to have to go in and win it. Like, this last arc is going to pretty much decide the match, and we do have some provisions starting to come out for both teams, starting to equalize one another. So that will be something to kind of keep in mind as well going into it. But definitely going into this next mid arc, I think Viet Minh's gonna have to get a little bit creative here.
Ryan Burry in the chat saying, losing the opening and then coming back strong like this is crazy. Beer is very good. It's an excellent point, but we have to say that this is a tie match right now. I mean, at this point, 748W has actually taken the lead, even though they've lost both mids. So, you know, 748W won the first 15 minutes. Beer has won the last half of the match. They've won the last 30 minutes. Beer has definitely won the last 30 minutes. But what that brings us to is a situation where it's just all in for this third arc. This third arc will likely decide this match. And, well, I mean, 748W does have a lot of people on the sides. Like, look at this, Dan. Oh, my goodness gracious. I mean,
this is where like they needed to kind of stick around a little bit, like too close to comfort here, right? They had a good flip on that Sky Altar, which is gonna deny a little bit of points there. And then now those troops that are refreshing here, they're gonna have to start sprinting back to mid. So kind of as I was alluding to, where they needed to stick around just a little bit longer than they usually would, and kind of go for a little bit of a later rotation here. So, oh, here we go. This is the mid fight that's going to decide it.
Yeah, you know, we've got 2 minutes to go before the mid fight. Here are the players we just saw get sad faced on the bottom side. You know, it looks like they're about 2 minutes away. You know, if I can, you know, take a guess here at how long it's going to take these players to walk to mid, it does look like they're about 2 minutes away. And so that does give Beer a potentially big advantage mid. Now, does Beer know this? Does Beer know that 748W is going to be late? I don't think they do. I don't think they really know that 748W is going to be late. They don't have a lot of vision over there. So
I think they might not feel confident. I think they know that was going to be a little bit of a late rotation, but look what's coming up from top end too from Beer. I think they're almost mirrored in terms of the rotations that are coming in. And I love, like, I think this was last season, Redline said it best, like these Osiris leagues, what separates the good teams apart is it's all an exchange of information. And I think right now, like, Beer definitely knows that there was going to be a late rotation, but they probably also communicated that, hey, their top side is also going to be a little bit late coming in here too.
yeah, I think, you know, I think both teams were late, but I think there were more players late from 748W, and Beer was a little bit late to realize that. They probably could have taken the temple from 748W. 748W had a bit of a poker face on by standing near the temple. When it's all said and done, it looks like almost everybody's going to get here on time, but a few players from the red team are going to probably miss this fight. Because the Ark is spawning in 20 seconds. Beer starting to get a sense that maybe they have the numbers advantage, or maybe they're just super confident in their ability to fight mid. Ark spawning in 15 seconds, these teams facing off at different sides of the temple, getting ready to engage. Beer is going to engage them from the top side, and Viet Minh immediately casts to the death from both teams being dropped. We did see 748W also cast Desert Storm earlier. So here we go. Desert Storm from both teams was cast. Mirrored skills. And who's going to grab this first Ark? It is Vladzor from Beer grabbing the Ark and running with it. Very good pull from Vladzor. 748W was really not able to get many players here. Here's Viet Minh trying to take this carrier down, but the Joan is nearly dead. Earlier in the chat, Chicken Nugget said, how do I get Joan of Arc Prime? Well, you better get him because she's fast, and she's one of the only people who can capture this guy. Oh my gosh, the pull by Vladzor.
What a pull. What a pull. What a pull, and what a mid-arc fight here, too. I mean, the fact that they kind of mirrored each other, it was just a good old... And I think those late troops for 748W may have costed this mid fight here.
Well, they just were so worried about the fight. You know what I mean? They were so worried about the fight that they didn't reposition. If you spend time repositioning to kill the carrier, you do waste some seconds where you're not hitting the enemy. But, like, you have to reposition. You have to reposition or you have no chance. Yeah, Dan, talk about that and talk about what your own team has said about, you know, repositioning during an Ark fight.
I mean, you said it best. I mean, when you the first pull is so important. Like we really tried to make an emphasis on first pulls because, like you said, as soon as that thing gets pulled and you start to bring it into your area, the enemy has to honor that, and they're going to have to start target swapping onto the Ark carrier. And as you're starting to walk away a little bit, you're going to start getting chipped down from free hits from the enemy, whether that's AoE in that murder ball or just getting directly targeted. So those first pulls are so crucial, and it was an amazing first pull from Beer. I mean, we've seen a couple really good pulls in this match. 748W had a really good one. Beer had a really good one on this one. So those pulls in itself, that's a great micro skill to have to bring to an Ark team for sure.
Yeah, and you know that march was very, very quick. That was likely a T1 march from Vladzor. Actually, this looks like T5. It looks like he pulled this with T5. So, you know, a lot of times when it's a T1 Ark carrier, you can kill it very quickly. In that case, I think it was just very good luck for Beer that they had the T5 strength on that carrier, because they did have one player that was attacking it, and it survived. It survived the attack of that Joan of Arc. And Beer now in the driver's seat. Now, Dan, do you think they hold this Ark? Because they are trailing. They're trailing by about 500 points. Do you think they hold this arc for the rest of the match?
I think they will, just because they have some of the provisions out. I wouldn't be surprised if they maybe look to scout with some sentries to see if 748W is gathering themselves, but they have gotten, I think, 1 to 2, at least 3 to 5 marches out gathering for the last 10 to 15 minutes now. I would say for Beer, so I think Beer might just choose to hold on to this thing.
Yeah, I think you're right, and the way they can just really protect their lead here is like you said, bringing out those gatherers. So it is very interesting that they started gathering a while ago, at least 5 to 10 minutes ago. With the arc return that's worth 4,000 points, it does mean that Beer has about a 3,500 point lead in this match. Now, 748W has taken the Sky Altar on the bottom side. They're also taking the Beer Desert Altar on the top side. So 2 successful attacks here for 748W will largely flip the points in their favor. So, you know, there's 11 minutes left. Let's see what happens let's see how the points look when this building flips. If this building flips, because Beer is now flooding back. Some very spirited defense by Beer in this match has made a huge difference. Just being able to deal with some of these attacks has helped them points-wise for sure. But 748 does get the flip. Let's see if they have a garrison here for this. There it is, the Eleanor. So even in the heat of these battles, 748W is managing to bring garrisons to these advanced buildings. We have seen some outstanding side play from 748W here. And from a points perspective at the moment, they've got about a 220 point per minute lead. Now it's 250. They've got a 250 point minute lead. That if over 10 minutes, Dan, if they hold this for 10 minutes, that's 2,500 points. When you add that up with their current lead, that becomes like 3,400 points. It's not the same as the Ark, but it makes this match rather close, does it not?
Yeah, that's their win condition right now. They need to take the altars at the very least 1, and they need to hold it throughout the entirety of the match. Or obviously you're going to get a couple flips back and forth here, but yeah, this is their win condition right now. They need to stay extremely aggressive, and which is good for 748W, because this is what they are actually good at. And even kind of going in and keeping some of the outposts, they need to go and take as many points as they possibly can. Even going in now to the lengths to start to harass some of those gatherers as well, which definitely has an effect.
Yeah, some very aggressive all-in type plays here from 748W. They are paying off. Some of these all-in plays are definitely paying off. They flipped all 3 of Beer's outposts. Neither team defending the outpost too hard. We've also seen the red team's outposts get flipped at times, but flipping all 3 Beer outposts is a very big deal. We now see the points per minute lead reaching 340 points per minute for 748W. And let's see, Beer is taking back their buildings. They've got the Desert Altar. Well, the Desert Altar's back, not back yet. We expect it to get flipped here in a moment. But you're right, Dan. 748W is doing what they need to do. Like, they're playing to the only win condition they have. Beer is still a pretty solid favorite in this match, I would say. But 748W is really making it spicy with their side play here. Opening up now a 1,200 point lead as Beer does hold this final arc. They'll probably return it very soon, because at 8 minutes, no other arcs can be spawned. But yeah, pretty wild. And look at this, flipping the outposts again. Look at the battle. Look at the battle that's happening here for these outposts. It's CMEPW here for 748W. And then a bunch of players, a scattered assortment of players from Beer trying to deal with this one player who's flipping so many of these buildings. Here he's going for it again. He's done a good job of keeping his marches very healthy and just absolute chaos agent here in the back lines.
Yeah, and this is, one of those unsung things, right? This is you know, these players' roles, they're not the most glamorous. They're not a rally or Garrison, but they are quite effective, especially when you're able to flip three of these things. I mean, I believe it's what, 90 points per minute if you're able to flip all of the outposts. So that's no like small amount of points. I feel like that's pretty reasonable amount to kind of pat yourself on the back here. So 748W doing everything that they possibly can right now to try and steal this thing, and as they need to, because this is going to really come down to the wires. We do see Beer cash in the Ark and then go for a time warp here too. Time warp into a no mark to end the match. Yeah, this is going to be really tough for 748W now.
Yeah, big time no mark there by Beer. Leaving that no mark, that second no mark in their back pocket. That is going to make the score closer. The points per minute score is closer now, although 748 still has the lead, 200 points per minute. At this point, they would be getting 1,400 points more, which would make it very close. We've got a very close match here with 7 minutes to go. Gathering is going to definitely be a factor here. Which team is able to gather more in the final 20 minutes of this match? Boy, oh boy, this is pretty crazy. At this point, both teams have all their buildings except the outposts. 748W still has some of the outposts from Beer, and you can see that from the points per minute, that is making a difference. But now, with 6.5 minutes left in the match, Beer is gaining more points per minute because of that no mark, and because they're able to hold their own buildings. Very good defense by Beer here at the Sky Altar. This was a big attack by 748W. Rally coming in late here. You know, Dan, I said before, I cast a cursed us like as soon as this stream started, actually, where I said that 748W was going to have all these interesting rallies, and I feel like all we've seen is Attila Subotai.
Yeah, no, I was even thinking about it too. When we were looking at the topside Desert Altar rallies, they were running the Scipio William Wallace, and I'm like, wait, why are they doing the normal stuff now? But yeah, I mean, really brilliant play here from Beer to kind of hold that no mark in the back pocket. And I think even without the point advantage that no mark gives you, I think just the buffs alone that it's going to give to the structures, and the fact that they just have to play, they have to go into the turtle shell. They just have to shell up and just play defense. I think with that alone, even if you didn't give the point advantage that no mark gives, that Beer still would have walked away with this thing, because I really couldn't see up, and there's a caster curse. I was going to say, I really couldn't see any of their structures flipping, but here goes 748W proving me wrong yet again.
Yeah, 748W has been great on this Desert Altar. They've honestly been great on both of Beer's altars. Like, they've just pressured the Beer altars so hard throughout the match. And they have flipped it again. No mark is... There's still about 2.5 minutes left on no mark. So, Beer... But look at this. The points advantage is in 748W's favor. Even with no mark on, at the moment, because they flipped this altar, they have the points advantage. They have the points advantage, and if 748W can hold on to this building and actually start having it generate points for them, which you see from the countdown, it'll take a minute to do that. You know, I mean, gosh, this is a very close match. This is still a very close match. But do you feel like Beer is gathering more than 748W?
I think they are. I think last time I checked, 748W really wasn't. They have a fair amount more out now. But I think they were a little bit later in that response. I would estimate maybe 2,000 to 3,000 provision points for Beer, and maybe about 1 to 1,500 for 748W.
Yeah, both teams have been returning some gatherers so far. They both have between 1,000 and 2,000 points at the moment. 748W has actually returned just a couple hundred more for now, but it's really those gatherers who are out in the field collecting resources that can potentially make a very big points boost here. And listen, in the same way that we don't know exactly how many gathering points both teams have, these teams don't know it either. And so they're just going to focus on everything. They're just going to grind every point that they possibly can. Here's Viet Minh casting Desert Storm at this Sky Altar, trying to give his team's attack, a boost here at this Sky Altar. 748W going for one last capture of this building, and you just hope that for them that the Desert Storm did enough damage. We see both teams. Look at this, Dan. Such different fighting than in KVK. Both teams kind of spread out in different parts of the fight, trying to get their AoE to cover as much territory as possible. Both teams trying to get on the outside of their opponents. Beer, in many ways, doing the better job here of being outside of their opponents and doing maximum damage. You see this player here, Huge G, just doing nice AoE with this BQ LC March. And even though Desert Storm was cast here, I mean, look at this. Like, the altar has not even been attacked yet. Here comes the rally. Full rally from 748W. Good attack. I mean, honestly, Dan, this is a pretty good attack by 748W. They did clear the Beer field.
Yeah, pretty good attack. I do think, is the no mark buff still up? Because if it is, then
it's basically
still...
off. It's going to be off in like... Yeah, it's off now. It's off now.
Okay. Yeah, I was gonna say if that buff was still rolling for them, then it would have been extremely hard. Especially considering that Beer is just so close and they can just run constant, double C's into that structure. But yeah, Beer 748W needs to get this thing down here, trying to keep their hopes in. And I think we might be seeing some provisions starting to come in now as the score is starting to kind of blow up a little bit here as they're almost 4,000 points ahead. Beer is over 748W.
Yeah, Beer bringing their gatherers in as they defend this Sky Altar one last time. It's been up and down in terms of the Beer defenses. They've had very successful defenses at times. At other times, they've lost their buildings. But they won 3 mids, and now the gathering is also going in Beer's favor, opening up an almost 4,000 point lead for Beer. We're getting news in the chat that GT won against the defending champions. So that is a
coins.
Yeah, rip my coins as well. But my goodness, the international server is back, baby. The international server is back in the Grand Prix. GT getting a win against the defending champions. And here in this match, we are watching 2 of the absolute best international teams go at it in a very, very good match. 1 minute left. Beer with their 3 Ark captures, opening up a 4,000 point lead. It feels a bit overwhelming at this moment to me, Dan. What do you think?
Yeah, these are the hardest moments in an Ark match when you're participating in them. Those, even like the last 5 minutes when you see the lead really starting to kind of grow and grow and grow, and you just know that there's really nothing that you can do. It really is probably about the most frustrating time within these Ark matches. And I mean, 748W played a hell of a match, but Beer was just very resilient, was able to come back time and time again, go get their structures back, go win those mid fights, and really kind of withstand that pressure that 748W is just so good at putting on you and kind of draining you with. So huge shout out to Beer to withstand all of the storms that 748W was able to throw at them and kind of pull out with this W here.
And there it is. Victory for Beer. My buddy AG getting MVP. Shout out to AG for the MVP award here for Beer. Quite the impressive MVP to grab. But here in the Global Champions Grand Prix, second round, we have Beer advancing in the winner's bracket with a 5,000 point lead against 748W. Wow. Beer winning 3 arcs, also winning the gathering game by 2,500 points, and withstanding that storm that Dan talked about, where 748W really did great on the occupation score, winning the occupation score by almost 8,000 points. This was really a tale of 2 strategies here. Beer dominating mid, 748W dominating the sides. Dan, final thoughts here on this match before we check the other scores.
I just gotta say, I'm surprised at the provision scores. I can't believe. I mean, they started provisioning really late, unless I missed it. But they were able to put up some really good provision scores here. So that's my initial thought. But I mean, yeah, a really good match all around. 748W obviously still alive in this thing in Grand Prix. And yeah, it's gonna be really interesting going into these next rounds where we're gonna, we've had some international success. Beer is gonna advance into the next round and look to take on one of the Chinese server teams. So yeah, it's gonna be pretty interesting to see going forward, who's gonna come out on top. But international servers are starting to punch back here a little bit.
Yeah, pretty interesting stuff. Let's quickly go and take a look at the other scores of this round. I'm going to bring it up on my screen and I will just go through these and let you make some predictions. I mean, I'm going to give you a layup, Dan, here on the first one. GY16 against GT. Who do you think won this match?
Oh, yeah, GT, unfortunately. Goodbye,
Do you
my
think it's
coins.
close? I mean, I want to see how close this match was. GT winning by 6,000, almost 7,000 points, actually. GT with a very
Yeah.
solid win here by 7,000 points. Congratulations to them. Rip the coins. I said this was the greatest bet in the history of Rise of Kingdoms on GY16. I had, like, deep down, I had a feeling it was going to haunt me, and it did.
Yep.
So
Yep.
next match here we have is 62M1 against Your Kingdom 93T. Any predictions on this match? And if you've been spoiled, let me know.
I have been spoiled, and yeah, 93T going down to the lower bracket. That's a stunner right there. That's a big stunner, I think.
Yeah, very interesting that GT won against a Chinese team and 93T lost against a Chinese team. It just shows how close this Grand Prix is, really. I mean, there's so much parity here that
Hmm.
it's hard to predict who the strongest team is. Next match here, we've got 45Q against 21YL. I will say, Kildy from the community, he said that 45Q is maybe the strongest team in this match. So let's take a look at who won here. 21YL finished in, I believe, the top 4 last season in this Grand Prix.
Yeah.
And this one's still going,
45.
actually. Or do you see the results?
It closed. We did have them for a brief moment. 45Q did win by about 15,000 points on this match, though, I
Okay.
think. And looking at what they did last week too against DQ39, it just based on the point leads that they've had in these matches, they are looking to be one of the strongest teams in this Grand Prix right now, 45Q.
Yeah, so what we have here in the upper bracket is we have 2 international teams, GT and Beer, advancing to the semifinals. And we have 2 Chinese teams, 62M1 and 45Q, also advancing to the semifinals. The semifinals next Sunday will be a Chinese team against an international team on the top side, and on the bottom side, it will be a Chinese team versus an international team. And we also, of course, have the lower bracket play where some very strong teams will be attempting to advance. But yeah, Dan, we're going to be back at this thing next Sunday for the 3rd round of the
Hmm.
Global Champions Grand Prix. I don't know about you, but I think this is just getting more and more interesting.
Yeah, 100%. And yeah, we gotta see. Hopefully, fingers crossed that international servers can, redeem us from last season. But we're off to a great start here. So looking forward to next week and getting back together with you guys.
Absolutely. The brackets here say TBD. That stands for to be determined. And as we advance through this Global Champions Grand Prix, everything is still to be determined. Do throw a like on this stream. Subscribe to the official Rise of Kingdoms channel so you don't miss any of the upcoming action. And until next week, we will see you all on the flip side.